Hello everyone and welcome to a new edition of the program. This is Inside Africa. Hundreds of Kenyans have shown up to donate blood to save the lives of the many survivors who were affected by the Saturday terrorist attack on the WESTGATE shopping mall in Nairobi. Kenya Red Cross Secretary General Abbas Gulet has in the meantime appealed to anyone with blood groups O negative and B negative to come forth and donate blood.
These were some of the scenes at the MP Shah Hospital more than 30 hours after the attack on Westgate Mall. Medical personnel working overtime, desperate to save lives. Family and friends desperate to find their loved ones and occasionally breaking down.
We want them to be caught and to be brought to justice. We cannot live like this anymore.
There is no religion in the world. Neither does Hinduism preach terrorism, neither does Christianity preach, neither does Islam preach. I'm a Muslim myself. We don't believe in terrorism. It is nowhere written that you go and get innocent lives.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, accompanied by other leaders, visited the hospital Sunday afternoon and condoled with the victims.
He works for Nakumat.
So far, more than 175 victims are still recuperating in various hospitals within Nairobi, with those admitted at the MP Shah estimated at 128 survivors.
We have managed to successfully treat all of them. Almost 40 of them have been admitted within the hospital, and so far we have carried out 28 surgeries to remove bullets and shrapnels from many of them who are suffering from them.
At the Kencom bus stop, Kenyans awaited their turn to donate blood to save a life. It did not matter how long they stood in line. They all did this with one goal in mind: to assist their brothers and sisters, survivors of the Westgate Mall terrorist attack. Various leaders were also at hand to support the drive.
We don't know how many pints will be needed, but we know the blood banks are always short of blood in our country. So this is a major exercise to ensure that we replenish what the banks are giving to hospitals for operations that will be required for many of the patients who were taken yesterday.
Somali ambassador to Kenya, Mohammed Ali Nur, termed the attack an act of terrorism that did not bear any religious undertones. In Uasin Gishu County, volunteers at the Blood Donation Center in Eldoret were overwhelmed by the numbers of people coming in to donate blood in support of the Westgate victims. The same was witnessed in Mombasa County, where hundreds of residents thronged the Red Cross Donation Center and donated blood. And due to public demand, Safaricom has initiated an M-Pesa pay bill in support of the Westgate victims. You can send your donations to M-Pesa business number 848484, account number 848484. The Kenya Red Cross has also extended the exercise to Monday from 9 a.m. at Uhuru Park.
In Uganda, the number of new HIV infections in the country has reduced by about 20,000 infections from 2011. The new figures were released Friday by the Uganda AIDS Commission, whose previous projections were about 160,000 new infections. The number of new infected babies has fallen to 15,000 from about 28,000. No mean achievement, according to the AIDS Commission.
At a time when most Ugandans have been accustomed to the fact that HIV infections are ever on the rise, it would not have been a surprise to find out during the annual HIV and AIDS review that all is grim. But it has been somewhat immense news that was delivered by the Uganda AIDS Commission.
Now we are at 140,000 people who got infected last year. The previous year it was 160,000. We have been getting 23,000 new babies born with HIV. The figure had even reached nearly 25,000. And last year, the number was 15,000. We want to drive that number to zero.
USC attributes the breaking of the bond of the epidemic to the efficacious interventions.
People getting on treatment have increased. People being tested have also increased. Pregnant women who are HIV positive and coming for services, that has also improved. So People who are being circumcised, that figure has also gone up.
Which, of course, does not make you iron.
The AIDS development partners have applauded the progress made by Uganda.
But now is not the time for complacency. We are at the tipping point. This is the crossroads. And therefore now is the time for the government and its partners, and I'm including here us as development partners, to redouble our efforts.
In making strides in reducing the virus load and reducing deaths, about 200,000 people have been put on ARVs. Only 23% are waiting. The ministry hopes that 240,000 more will start ARVs this coming year.
For the first time, we have got more people enrolling on treatment than the number of new infections.
If you put people on treatment, you reduce their chances of transmitting the virus by nearly 95 to 96%.
According to the WHO recommendations of starting the infected on treatment at a CD4 count of 500, the Minister of Health has already approved this.
We would like to have more money and more drugs so that we don't even look at the white cell count, the so-called CD4.
Put more emphasis on HIV prevention in order to turn off the tap that is causing the flood of new infections, because it will be very difficult to put and keep all those eligible on treatment.
All this is aimed at reducing to zero the HIV deaths for those who are positive. Since 2002, about 100,000 HIV and AIDS Ugandans have been dying each year.
Now, Namibia is in the grip of its worst drought in 25 years. The United Nations says nearly 1 million people are affected. Angola is one of the hardest hit areas in the north and near the border with Angola.
Ndilimeke Joel is 18 months old, but she only weighs 6 kilograms. She should be at least 9.5 kgs. Rachel first brought her to this hospital in the northern town of Ngela in March when she was admitted and put on weight. But the drought means there's no food at home, so she's back.
The skin of my baby has lots of rashes and she's feverish. We have no crops because it's too dry and not enough money to buy food. I feel very bad for her.
This is Namibia's worst drought in 30 years. The government's declared a state of emergency and has been delivering food aid, but it's struggling too.
It is the wish of the government to cover everybody, to assist everybody. However, I think it might not be possible to cover everybody at the same time.
UNICEF says nearly 1 million people are affected. It's launched an appeal for $7.4 million. Ngela Hospital is on the front line. Dr. Ben Hura says 44 babies in the malnutrition ward have already died this year. During some months, admissions have doubled.
We do our best. We refer those we can to the local counsellor. They can get a few provisions. It's not a lot, but it helps. But really, there's not much we can do.
Most of these women are from Angola, but they say they get more help here.
There is no food. My family tries to send me money. This year, the land is not fertile.
Across the road, pregnant women are staying in tents, so they're near the hospital when it's time to give birth. Namibia's government has supplied the hospital with food aid to give to mothers like Rachel, but she has 4 other hungry children at home, so it will not go far. The nurses expect they will see her again.
South Africa is engaged in an endless battle against crimes. However, the latest statistics show a surge in murders and other violent crimes. The country's police force ratio to population is already higher than the world average, but that seems to have made no difference.
These are the scenes that South Africans are faced with on a daily basis, and latest statistics show violent crime is on the rise.
You can't even go to the shop just opposite the road. Then you are being robbed, you stabbed, you killed even.
I was robbed and I was verbally abused and I was almost assaulted if it wasn't for a friend of mine. and I really thought I was going to be raped.
I am living in fear for my life and my children's lives.
South Africa's crime rate is among the worst in the world, with over 16,000 murders registered in the past year alone. This translates to around 2 murders every hour. Experts say the country's history under apartheid and rampant unemployment are among the key driving factors.
One immediately thinks about the impact of drug abuse within the local community, the huge consumption of alcohol, and these are the things that I think has a direct impact on violent crime.
Along with drug abuse is the concern of gangsterism, especially among youth. This mother says her 13-year-old son is already involved in crime, but the police have failed to take action.
They don't seem to me like they want to help me with that child. So actually they actually waiting for me to do a crime to actually kill him, maybe. I'm just making an example. To kill him and then it will help me. Then it's too late.
This has raised questions about the effectiveness of the police.
The police, on the other hand, we've heard that they're wanting to put more satellite stations, in and around, the area. That in itself, is not a solution, because if you don't have people that are responsible, accountable, manning these satellite stations and working there, then we find that it's going to be like, throwing good money after bad.
As fear haunts and frustration simmers, some say the death penalty is the answer to this country's rabid crime rate. But some politicians say taking such action against a criminal is too inhumane and out of line with South Africa's democratic constitution.
Now, Sunday, September 22 was observed as a World Rhino Day. Hundreds of South Africans took part in a colorful parade in Pretoria to showcase their opposition to the poaching and killing of rhinos for their hunts.
Rhino poaching in recent years has become rampant, especially in South Africa. These students are taking part in World Rhino Day with anti-poaching messages on placards held up high. 17-year-old Kedi Adams is dressed as a rhino.
We'll do anything to encourage people to stop rhino poaching and to show them that we actually care about the animals out there, and the rhinos are becoming extinct, so we're hoping that this will help.
A total of 602 rhinos were killed in South Africa last year. The number has risen to 635 this year, and at the current rate, the total number of slain rhinos will exceed 800 before the end of the year. In some far eastern countries like Vietnam, where there is a strong demand for the rhino horn, there is a belief that it is a status symbol and a healing agent for serious illnesses. There is no evidence, however, that rhino horn made from the same material as fingernails is an effective medicine. Another student taking part in the parade wants people to stand together to show their support for rhinos.
We have to stand together to stop rhino poaching. We can't just sit by idly and watch as our rhinos are slaughtered for some superstition. So everyone's here today to show our support and our commitment to actually do something to stop this.
World Rhino Day is observed annually on the 22nd of September and is now in its 4th year. Vivian Adebamowo, TVC News.
Away from South Africa, let's now take you to Ghana, where we talk religion. The Christian Council of Ghana has a new General Secretary in the person of Reverend Dr. Apuni Frimpong, who takes over from Reverend Dr. Fred Degbe. At an induction ceremony, Reverend Dr. Apuni Frimpong pledged his readiness to make the activities of the council more visible to encourage stronger participation of the local council of churches.
Born on September 24, 1963 in Kumasi in the Ashanti region, Reverend Apuni Frimpong is married with 5 children, a son and 4 girls. Reverend Opuni Frimpong holds a BA in Political Science and Religion from the University of Ghana, Masters in Theology in the Trinity Theological Seminary, and a doctorate degree in Philosophy from the AFRIQUE Institute of Theology. He has studied both in the USA and South Africa. He has served the Presbyterian Church of Ghana since the 1990s and has a number of public lectures to his credit. These include GBC's 75th Anniversary Public Lecture on the theme, Interface between Religion and Media in Ghana, among others. Currently, he lectures at the Pentecost University College and the Trinity Theological Seminary. Reverend Opuni Frimpong takes over the General Secretaryship of the Christian Council from Reverend Fred Digby as the 16th General Secretary. He was inducted into office by the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend Professor Mate. Reverend Opuni Frimpong pledged his readiness to serve the council and called on the church to be mission-minded.
Many local council of churches have had very little to do with the council, and some CCG members are even uncomfortable joining such councils. There will be the urgent need to set up and revive regional, district, and local council of member churches to oversee the activities of members at the regional, district, and local levels.
Preaching the sermon, the chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, Right Reverend Francis Amenu, reminded Christians of their stewardship to God and to mankind.
We stay in Ghana and let's now talk something else other than religion. Labour expert Austin Gamay has called for the establishment of a National Alternative Dispute Resolution ADR Center to help in the adjudicating of protracted disputes in the country. According to Mr. Gamay, due to the absence of an ADR center, needless conflicts which could have been resolved amicably have escalated. The Labour consultant made this remark when he closed the 15th training session of the Professional Executive Master of ADR organized by the Gamay and Gamay Group in Accra.
Countries of the world have been at war with each other or are suffering internal conflicts. Some businesses and institutions have failed to work simply because of one unsolved dispute or the other. This is a result of the lack of a proper conflict resolution mechanism to settle most often than not trivial issues that sparks such disputes. Parliament in 2010 passed the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act. This is to make sure that disputes of any form are resolved amicably in order to promote development. In spite of this, there has been some conflicts which have blown out of proportion in the country. Section 114 of the ADR Act made provision for the creation of a National Dispute Resolution Center, which is yet to be implemented.
We believe, given the multi-sectorial outlook of the National ADR Center as envisaged in the Act, ADR can successfully be introduced into our fields that so much require its application in the resolution of disputes.
At the 15th training session of the Professional Executive Master of Alternative Dispute Resolution, participants drawn from various organizations were taken through some leadership skills and ways to assist and offer guidance in the area of conflict settlement. Some participants told GTV News the experience gained after 25 weeks of training.
The key to preventing conflict is what is known as the GHOST principles. Be gentle, be honest, open and specific.
When a problem arises, I will not use the fight and the flight and the freeze process in solving them. I know how to talk to them very well in order to resolve the conflict.
I didn't know that to be a good mediator, you had to work on your character. And for me, that has helped a lot because I used to take things for granted. Sometimes when you're emotional, you carry it to heights that are really terrible,
Participants are expected to apply their newly acquired knowledge in their various fields of work.
Let's now take you up north, where Egyptian students have called for a halt to educational activities until those detained foreign Morsis after are released from prison. They are also angry at the interim government's decision to allow the administrative personnel to arrest students protesting inside university campuses. There have been mixed reactions to the call among the students.
The Students' Union of Egypt's Ain Shams University has called for a halt to the educational year that has started on Saturday. They want the release of all people, among them students, who have been detained during protests following the ouster of former President Mohamed Morsi by the army in July. The Students' Union also demands freedom to express opinion inside university campuses without security intervention.
I think all students should have the freedom to practice political life. I think the only red line is if acts of flagrant violence breaks out.
Ain Shams's Medicine College is leading the move by the Students' Union and has threatened a total halt to educational activities. This comes as doctors are believed to have suffered the most during the army's crackdown on pro-Morsi demonstrations. A large number of doctors have been killed or injured, with many more arrested in the crackdown. The Students' Union is also denouncing the authorities' decision to allow administrative personnel to arrest students taking part in protests inside university campuses. This has raised fears of a return to former dictator Hosni Mubarak's era.
This is a bad development. We have terrible memories with security dealings inside universities.
The educational year has been adjourned in several parts of Egypt, including Helwan, Port Said, Damanhur, and a number of other locations, amid concerns over the potential outbreak of fresh unrest.
I support all student activities. We should raise awareness and form a security apparatus from within the students themselves.
It seems that the action by the Ain Shams University Students' Union has left its influence on other institutions. Big universities of Cairo, Alexandria, Suez, Al-Munufiyya and Banha and a number of other universities across the country have retracted to implement the government's controversial decision to arrest protesting students. The Al-Azhar University has also delayed the start of the educational year for at least a week, but it insisted to meet any protests with arrests and measures against the participating students that could reach expulsion.
In other news, since the beginning of the war on Syria, many Tunisians have joined the foreign-backed insurgents. Now, Tunisian Minister of the Interior has announced a shocking development. Dozens of young women have returned pregnant from Syria after Takfiri militants had sex with them. The announcement has caused fury over human trafficking.
Tunisian Interior Minister Lotfi Ben Jeddou said on Thursday that between 60 and 80 Tunisian girls who had traveled to Syria through Turkey to perform jihad al-nikah or sexual jihad with foreign-backed Takfiri militants have returned back home pregnant. The announcement shocked public opinion and lawmakers in Tunisia.
The lives of dozens of girls have been ruined with this form of prostitution. There is no justification for what people describe as the jihad of nikah. Our religion and values forbid such acts. I encourage the Interior Minister to say the truth, even if it's frightening.
Members of the National Constituent Assembly have called for the criminalization of human trafficking, targeting young girls that terrorist groups are organizing between Tunisia and Syria. People's Movement held a press conference in Tunis to shed light on the current political situation in the country. The party's leaders have linked the atmosphere of insecurity in Tunisia to the Syrian crisis and foreign interference in Syria's internal affairs.
There is a conspiracy against Syria from Takfiri groups who came from all across the world. They are financed by Persian Gulf countries, the US and France. Their goal is to destroy Syria and the resistance front against Israel in order to spread chaos in the region. Our government ignored our calls. This led to the formation of training camps for Takfiri militants in Tunisia and Libya.
Experts estimate to 3,000 the number of people who have recently...
That's the package we put together for you this day on the program. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned for more news on AFRIQUE Media.